And thank you all, you have come here in person to Park of the Pines. We welcome you to the Community Christ Michigan Mission Center's Spring Conference this year in 2022. We're venturing into the hybrid world here, and we're excited to have several diverse speakers throughout the day presenting on our theme of Courageously Choose Love. So this first session this morning, we'll have 3 speakers. Our first is Aida Cuadrado Bozzo. I am a pleasure to introduce her. I've known Aida for several years. We got connected through Action of Greater Lansing, where she mentored me in the community organizing work. Aida is still based in Lansing, is a cultural transformational organizer, facilitator, and trainer. For over 15 years, she has worked for social justice across a spectrum of cultures, communities, movements, and sectors. She specializes in designing and implementing leadership development and capacity building initiatives in organizing, strategy, leadership development, and generative conflict communications, racial equity, and innovative program and curriculum designs to the service of local, regional, and national organizations, networks, and campaigns. We're excited to have Aida sharing with us this morning. We thank her for her time, and I'll turn it over to her. Thanks, Aida.
Thank you so much, Dan. How you doing, Community Christ? I'm so excited to be here with y'all today. I'm a deep fan already. As you know, I know Dan and all the good people down in Lansing. I deeply love them, and they've taught me a lot about what it means to live in the world grounded in my faith. And, so it goes, mentorship goes both ways, right? So, I'm gonna share my screen, and if at any time you need me to like slow down or repeat anything, just let me know, drop it in the chat. That is totally, totally welcome. And I think right now, in order to like come off mute, you just gotta raise your hand and let us know, right? But drop it in the chat. I want to also tell you that I am really weird about like being in interaction with people. Not really weird. I guess I'm just asking for you to play with me in my sandbox and try some things on. But also let me know you're hearing me. Like, so if I'm like, hey, you ready to move on? Give me like a head nod, thumbs up, or even the reaction emoji buttons at the bottom of your Zoom is always like a blast for me. Like, I want to see that too, right? So, we good? Thumbs up? Okay. Thank you for waking up this morning and being with us on Saturday, right? I'm going to share my screen and ask if you can give me a thumbs up if you can see it. It says say lessons and reflections, right? Yeah. Wonderful. So this session, so first of all, this theme, right? Courageously choose love. Ugh, it sounds awesome, but it's totally tough. Let's be real about that. And so I'm so glad that we get to like try some things on today. Okay. These lessons and reflections are from one of my favorite authors and teachers. Her name is Bell Hooks. And anybody here know who Bell Hooks or have heard of Bell Hooks before? No? Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about bell hooks before we actually dive in a little bit more, but I just want to share with you that what we're gonna do today is just like a little bit of all of the awesomeness that bell hooks has to offer us, right? And so just to say that, right now before we get started. We are going to spend time. Oh, who am I? I'm Aida. Yeah, I always forget to introduce myself. It's such a thing that I do. But thank you, Dan, for reading my bio. And I like to also introduce myself a little 3 dimensional, maybe 4 dimensional. So you hear about the work that I do, but I want to share with you who I am as well. I'm the descendant of Tainos from Puerto Rico and the strong women, the Velez Flores women of my family. I am the smell of rice and beans and fried chicken at any holiday, and the smell fabuloso after a good meal. And I am the sound of salsa music, old school R&B, and yes, I will admit a little bit of good country, right? And I am from Lansing, by way of Patterson, New Jersey, where I was birthed. by way of Puerto Rico again, a small island in the Caribbean, if you've heard about it. And I am Aida Michelle Cuadrado Bozzo, she, her, or they. And I currently live on Potawatomi land in Lansing, Michigan. But my favorite people in the world, they call me Titi Mimi. That's it. You know, they can be like, Titi Mimi's anything, and I will respond. So I come with you, yes, with all of the things that I do, but also this wonderful, like, heritage of mine that I get to carry with me wherever I go, right? Our time together is going to be spent on just reflecting on some of the great lessons that I've learned from this incredible book called All About Love. Um, it's New Visions by Bell Hooks, and thinking about different ways that we define love for us in our lives, for ourselves individually, and thinking about embracing what's called a love ethic, right? Like, how do we actually live love in our life, and how do we and what do we need for ourselves? So that's a lot to do in the next like 40 minutes, but we will do our best. All right. And then we're gonna close out. Does that sound like a good use to your time this morning? Like, did you? Yeah. All right. I appreciate the head nods and thumbs up. It makes me feel warm and toasty inside. Thank you. All right. You know, if you want to take notes, you can. I'm also gonna share with Dan my notes. So, like, if you want to listen and just try to be, you know, if you want to be present, that's fine too. I'm a huge note taker because it just keeps me in the room. But I just want to let you know that you don't have to try to capture everything because I'll share these notes with my buddy Dan. Cool? All right. So, let's see here. Yeah, let's talk about bell hooks first for a little bit. Bell Hooks is actually a pseudonym for Gloria Jean Watkins. She actually was born in Kentucky and recently just passed in 2021. She's a scholar and activist whose work examined the connections between race, gender, and class, right? If you're, you know, a teacher or something, or like looking at pedagogy and theory, she moves from a black feminist theory, right, around that a movement to end sexism, sexist exploitation, and oppression, right, and those are all interconnected through like race, capitalism, and gender, right. Those are big words, right, a lot of different things, and I just wanted to share with you she's a incredibly brilliant woman. She was an incredibly brilliant woman who was always calling us to be incredible human beings. And so, like I said, we're just gonna like touch the waters on how incredibly dope she was. So, so let me pause here. I'm gonna stop my share for just a moment because I want to bring us into this conversation and what I'm talking about in an intentional way, right? I'm going to do some talking also in the beginning, and then you're going to do all the work towards the end. So I just want to be honest about that too. All right. So I want to tell you that, yes, that today is again about practicing and trying something new on, and there's no right or wrong answers. Right? So just try to be with us during this process. And so Bell Hooks invites us through this incredible book all about love. She says we need to understand what we mean when we talk about love, right? And what love means to us all individually on the deepest subconscious level, in the part of ourselves that begin to construct in our earliest lives. So even when we were little babies, right? This is the premise of the feminist scholar and cultural critic, the homie Bell Hooks, right? Establishes at the beginning of their book of essays, The Subject of Love, All About Love, right? And then she goes on to argue that we must look at love not as an abstract concept, right? But as a concrete manifestation of actions. We would all love better, this is what she writes, if we used it as a verb. It referring to love, right? I don't know if you know this, but love is actually defined as a noun, which is interesting, right? Imagine, right? There's a call that she's asking us. Imagine how much easier it would be for us to learn how to love if we begin with a shared definition. For love, many people. I was actually just talking to my partner this morning about this. I was like, love, how do you define love? And we talk about it so differently, right? The word love is most often again defined as a noun. And so, yet more astute theorists of love acknowledge that we would all love better if we used it as a verb. That's a quote from her book, right? That's Bell Hooks. She spent years searching for a meaningful definition of love, of the word love, and was deeply relieved when she found a psychiatrist. Some of y'all might remember this name, Scott Peck's, right? Y'all remember the book The Road Less Traveled? Maybe some of us, yeah, right? And Mr. Peck, he says, the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another spiritual growth. That's how he defines love. I'm going to say that one more time. The will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Explaining further, he continues, the love is as love does. Love is as love does, meaning it has to be action, right? Love is an act or a will namingly, both as an intention and as an action. It also implies choice, right? Sometimes we move in the world and we're like, oh, like we're given family, we're birthed into families. That's necessarily not a choice, but we get to choose how to be in love with our families or friends, or choose to how to express our love, how to live with it in action, right? Because in reality, we don't have to do love, but we can choose love, which brings us back to this incredibly titled gathering, which is Courageously Choose Love, right? Since the choice must be made to nurture growth, this definition counters a more widely accepted assumption that some of us, we love instinctually. I don't know if I like my cousin sometimes. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I like my neighbor sometimes, but I can choose to love them, and that's the distinction we're making, right? If we want to. All right, y'all still with me? Yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. I appreciate that. All right, okay. Back to bell hooks. Can you see my screen? Can you get a thumbs up? Wonderful. So, how does Bell Hook define it in this concept of love? In her book, she defines love as a combination of care, right? Commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, and trust. I don't know. The first time I read that, I was like, I'm not sure what she means by that. Like, am I in agreement with that? I don't know. This is how she defines it. So I'm going to read that one more time. Love is a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, and trust. Ooh, doing my own tech. Sometimes I'm not the best at it. But so she makes these wonderful points reflecting again that love is not just a noun, but it actually is something that lives. It's a verb, right? And that not only do we have a choice, but it actually looks certain specific ways, right? She lifts other points up, right? That in our everyday lives, we can successfully do this, right? We can actually live our love out in real life by cultivating awareness. And being able to enables us, sorry, to critically examine our actions, to see what is needed so that we can give care, so that we can be responsible, so that we can show respect and indicate a willingness to learn. Understanding knowledge as an essential element of love is vital because we are bombarded daily with messages that tell us love is actually a mystery, or it's like not possible. We're also bombarded with many messages that don't make me feel like love is always totally present, right? And I'm not sure if I personally move in the world every day from a place of love, right? I know I got to get things done. I don't know if I get things done from a place of love. How about you? Right? So I want to invite us to think about this for ourselves. And so the next part of our session is to like actually take some time reflecting on how do we actually apply something like this? Like, if love is a combination of care, commitment, knowledge, responsibility, respect, and trust, what does that look like for me? Right? And even if this isn't your definition of love, and maybe you're in your mind, you're like, well, I haven't read the whole book either, so I don't know if I'm in agreement or not yet. That's fine too, right? We're still gonna get to like really reflect on what that means, right? And so the next piece is I would love for us to do some individual reflections first. So I'm going to pause for a second and ask if you don't have like a piece of paper or a pen, if you can grab one, or maybe you like taking notes like, I don't know, on your laptop, on your phone, if you're young and tech savvy. I'm like, I can't do that yet. I'm still a piece of paper gal, right? Take that moment now and like, can you grab those for me? And then when you have a piece of paper and pen or whatever you want to take notes on, yeah, let me know. Okay, got some thumbs here. Amazing.
I just wanted to bump in. We have about 5 minutes or so left until our next speaker is going to get set up. Just want to give you that warning.
Okay, thank you. So 5 minutes left.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So now that you have those in your hands, I want to ask you, what does love actually look like for me in action? And what does it feel like? What does love look like for me in action? And what does it feel like? And so I'll give you a quick example, right? For me, love looks in a very particular way that I am absolutely welcomed and my needs are met, right? That's just one small way. That's what it looks like in action to me, right? Like, you care about if I'm safe, if I've ate, and if I've experienced like comfort today, right? And it feels totally warm. And it feels hard sometimes because let me tell you, my mama had some tough conversations with me, right? That's that responsibility part. So I'm going to be quiet here for a minute and invite you to continue to reflect. Okay, I'm going to have to call you back in because my time here is almost complete. I want to tell you that when I first did this, I had so many emotions around like what it means to be loved and do I actually have access to it. And so I invite you to like explore those and not feel any kind of way about them. Just be like, I'm curious about that. Because it's much harder when we actually start really thinking about it. And one, I want to leave you with this one last lesson that Bell Hooks shares with us that we should not expect to receive the love from someone else you do not give to yourself. And when we learn to love ourselves, we are able to reach out and express that care to other people from a place of joy and fulfillment rather than emotional lack. And so, my loves, again, I invite you, right, to really think about how you're embracing a love ethic and showing care, respect, knowledge, integrity, and a will to cooperate, like Bell Hooks calls us into. So, I believe I got like 2 minutes left, right? Or no? Timekeeper.
We are ready to transition. If you had a final thought, Aida.
No, that's it. Just like really try on this new love ethic as you guys continue about your day and continue to courageously choose love. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aida. We are going to transition to our next speaker. It's going to take us just a moment to get the technology set up, so we'll be on pause for just a couple of minutes.
Good morning. Good morning. It works. Look at that. It's because Dan's working it.
So we have the slides here, but I don't think we'll be able to get it through the Zoom. We're trying to get the Zoom. That's what we're sharing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't have internet on this. I'm assuming I can figure this out. Yes. This one, Ben?
I think we should be good.
Share her slides.
Yeah, I don't have them.
Okay.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I think we're all connected here. We're pleased to have our next guest, Patty Sabin, was sworn in as a court-appointed special advocate in 2002 in Kent County, Michigan. She took on 5 cases and shepherded 13 abused and neglected children through the time they were wards of the court. In the process, she became a fervent believer in the CASA mission. When she is asked, how can you do this work? Her reply has always been, how can I not? In 2007, Patty was named executive director of CASA of Kent County, where she created what is now known as the gold standard for CASA program. In July 2015, Patty took up the charge for establishing and leading Michigan CASA, headquartered in the Grand Rapids area. Michigan CASA former board chair Daniel Baden said, Patty's proven passionate leadership is allowing us to reach more of the abused and neglected children in our state, both through the further development of existing programs and the startup of new county programs. Patty and her husband John have 2 wonderful children, Keith and Julia, 1 grand puppy Cookie, and enjoy anything that has to do with the outdoors. And I personally have been blessed with Patty's leadership in starting a county program where Abby and I live as foster parents in Ingham County, and then advocated on the statewide level for children throughout the child welfare system. So thank you, Patty, for joining us.
Thank you. I've known Dan for several years, and he was on the board of directors for CASA for kids. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Dan. It was a beautiful write-up this morning. I had to admit that last week, and well, maybe it was Wednesday, I thought, for some reason, I thought Wayne City was near Cadillac. It was a little longer drive than what I thought, but it was gorgeous. So I really appreciated the time for reflection in the car on the way up. So yes, as Dan said, I'm now the president and CEO, and I think they gave me that title in lieu of a raise. So I'm okay with that, I guess. Anyway, when Dan talked to me about your thing, courageously choosing love, courageously choose love, I thought, I am there. I work with individuals who courageously choose love every single day. We've got 799 CASA volunteers, which I'll quick explain what a CASA volunteer is. And they're faced with some of society's worst scenarios and cases. And so I'm tickled that I can be here, share what they do. And again, thank you, Dan. So again, when Dan asked me, I was kind of thinking about it in choosing love. And I think the way our community and our world is today, I think it's easy maybe to take the path of least resistance and not maybe choose love. We had the murder of George Floyd back in May of 2020. We've got the political divide that just doesn't seem to go away. And then, of course, we've got the war going on over in Ukraine. So, you know, I think sometimes it would be really easy. It takes more work, I guess, to choose love than it is not to. That's just my opinion. I'm not a psychologist or anything, but it's just my observations out there within the community. So CASA is an acronym for Court Appointed Special Advocates. And I'm sorry, I can do this. Okay, I can, awesome. And hello everyone, I'm Zoomland. So let's see, the highly trained volunteers to advocate within the court system and the community for the best interest of children who are under court jurisdiction due to abuse and neglect through no fault of their own. Remember, this is a broken system. So these kids are navigating the system alone. Volunteers partner with the court and child welfare agencies to ensure they receive needed services and placement in the most appropriate, safe, and loving permanent home. Part of Michigan CASA's core model is that we know children do better in their home of origin, but that's not always possible because we got some younger ones, Is that okay? Okay. We're okay, all right, okay, good, all right, just, we won't get too into it, but I always am concerned, so, anyway, our core model does state that children should be in remote work, and we understand that, but some of the environments just are not safe to return our children to these homes. So, Michigan CASA itself, what we do, our mission is to open new programs and to strengthen existing programs and help them grow to be able to serve more children. We have 799 volunteers, over 100 staff. We've got 25 programs that serve 28 counties. Who here and on Zoom land has heard of CASA before? Okay, so a few, all right, it's good. There are over 9,000 unserved children in 55 unserved counties. So we have our work cut out for us, the state organization does. Who are these volunteers? They are everyday heroes. They've also been likened to the Navy SEALs of volunteering. This is not a push position. This is not going to donate in blood. This is giving your heart and soul to these children who are hurting, supporting them through this awful process, being with them, walking the journey with them. We also call them warriors for children. And again, they are the heart and soul of our organizations. They are CASA, they are love. Now, our volunteer demographics is kind of interesting. See, I'm not real technical. I think I warned you when I walked in. So they are 82% female, 93% Caucasian or non-Hispanic and Latino, 57% are over 50 years old, 74% are college educated, and these are the career types in order of numbers. So number one is education, healthcare, government, military, and legal. But these are individuals that are like you and I, who have a passion for helping children, supporting children. Also, I do have to say that our organization, I know Dan can attest to this, we don't accurately reflect the children that we serve, and we're working on that in terms of diversity and equity and inclusion. And I think that's kind of across the board, that's a universal issue, but we are absolutely committed to changing the demographic of our volunteers so that we do accurately reflect and we can interact with these different demographics or populations in a more effective way. Now, what is needed to become a volunteer? Like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. You do have to be 21 years old, and today I'm just letting you know I'm not here to try and get you to be a volunteer, and I promise I won't ask you for money because I'm really good at that. I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, minimum age is 21 years of age. The interview process is huge. You need to fill out the application. It's very closely reviewed. You've got background checks. Then if you're accepted into the program or if you get past that, then there's the interview stages. And that's kind of interesting. 20 years ago, when I went through the interview process, I couldn't believe the questions they would ask me. Things like, have you had any DV in your life? Tell me about your family of origin. So questions that you certainly are not legal if you were going for a position, a staffing position. So it was, and I think actually the last, because you have to do a pre-interview and a post-interview after training. So we can make sure that you really digested the information and understand your role as a CASA advocate. So the training consists of 34 hours. It has changed. It used to be 30, now it's 34. Each of our volunteers also, after they're sworn in, they're expected to complete 12 hours of continuing education. Now, after training, that's when you're sworn in by the judge. And it's a big ceremony. Everybody lift up your hand, and your hand's been to several of them. And you're sworn in by a judge, and you are an officer of the court. So that means you're entitled to all information about these children that we're serving. You're assigned a case, and typically you're not assigned a case. You choose a case. So your supervisor's going to call you up and says, there's 3 cases on the desk here. Come on in and read, and you choose your case. Some of them are horrific. My very first case, I was, well, I'm Caucasian, born and raised in Jenison. I'd never been in a courtroom in my life. And so some of these cases that you're introduced to are over the top. And it's a lot to take. My very first case was 2 small girls. One of the little girls, she had, I'm kind of being careful,
Sorry.
okay, because of our audience, okay, I won't go into all of that, so. And then you are supervised, do not walk the journey alone. You're supervised by somebody who's very well versed in a CASA mission. Your length of service is anywhere from 6 to 18 months. Some of our cases do go longer. We had a case that lasted 6 years, and the volunteers stuck with the kids. We make it very clear during the interview process that once you start a case, it is an expectation of the program that you will complete the case. Our children have too many people, strangers, in and out of their lives. It's impossible to develop a relationship with these children if you're leaving and another CASA volunteer comes in. You just can't do it, and you've got to build trust as well. So we do tell them, that that's the beauty of the program is the continuity. Let's see, we had one little guy, Matthew. He was 7 years old, and he had 3 caseworkers in 1 year. He had, during that whole 1 year period, he had the same CASA volunteer. So that volunteer could get that caseworker up to speed quickly about what Matthew's needs were. You know what, Dan, I forgot to hit my clock, so you give me like a 5-minute. We'll have it.
5 minutes.
Is it really? Oh, man, fast, we're having fun. Okay, this is the role of the volunteer: investigate, facilitate, advocate, monitor, investigate every aspect of the case. We had a volunteer that opened up this file and years back found an aunt and uncle down in Canton, Ohio. Nobody knew about this aunt and uncle. Which is really weird. He reached out to this aunt and uncle, and they had adopted his older sisters years before. Nobody knew this little boy existed. So this little boy was able to be reunified with his half sisters down in Canton, Ohio, and his biological uncle and aunt. Volunteer to that. Facilitate, always facilitating sibling visits, always facilitating visits between mom and dad. Important for them to keep that bond with mom and dad. We advocate for whatever the child needs, and then we monitor the case, making sure it doesn't go off the rails until we're assigned, until the child is discharged from the court system. So the role of the court, they help us with training, they do the swearing in, they request volunteers, and the reason why they do request a volunteer is because typically there's a lot of siblings in the sibling group. They need help to keep them all together. They're placed in different counties. Also, the children are coming back into care, which unfortunately we do see that. Case example: Susan, 5 children she served. These 5 children were feral. There's no reason why children should be feral in this day and age. They did not know how to use silverware. She brought them to Denny's, taught them how to use silverware. Tom, credit recovery. He had an 11-year, he was in the 11th grade, and he only had 6 credits because he'd been to 14 high schools. So Tom took the time to recover all the credits from all the high schools he'd been in all over the state, and he was able to graduate with his group. Gary, unannounced visit, went to the foster home, found that his 2 children, there's 4 foster children in the family, his 2 children were left in the care of somebody who had criminal sexual conduct charges against him. This was a son of the foster mom who was not supposed to be in the house. He sat on the front step until the children's attorney came and the caseworker came to make sure those kids were safe, and they were removed that day. Actually, all 4 were removed that day. Marlene, father, little girl, she's 7 years old now, she's 24, and a beautiful young lady. 7 years old, mom was a drunk. alcoholic, horrible substance use issues, unfortunately, too. She recently passed away. But on paper, they were going to put Lisa in foster care. And on paper, her dad, biological dad, with substance abuse, alcoholism. I think he even had this is a while ago, some criminal stuff going on. Well, Marlene, our volunteer, sat down with Dad and his new wife and found out that Dad had cleaned up his act, had been clean for 2 years, married this marvelous lady, and she fought for that in court. She did not think Lisa should be going into foster care and needed to go with Mom. The child's attorney was fighting like heck to get Lisa into foster care. He still thought Dad was bad news when that was not the case. Dad and stepmom raised Lisa. And like I said, Lisa now, I think she's 28, has 2 beautiful children of her own, somewhat of a typical childhood, I guess, after the point she was 7 years old. So, and then the last one was my case, Ruby. She liked to be called Ruby. Huge crater in her molar when she was brought into care. And Medicaid, most of our kids are on Medicaid, would not pay for nitrous oxide, and she was terrified of needles. So I actually went out and I found a dentist who donated his time and would do the nitrous oxide so it could be fixed. She was in pain all the time. And so this dentist, bless his heart, talk about love, repaired her too. So I have a million other success stories. The CASA model works. I've seen so many miracles. I look into the eyes of our CASA volunteers and I see love. I look into the eyes of our children and I see love. So I pray for every one of them every night. And when I get into work in the morning, I have a sticky note with all the names of the kids that I've come in contact and say a little prayer every single day. It's an amazing organization. So probably 1 minute. Any questions? That was fast. No questions. Okay, I'm gonna leave these behind. Please help yourself if you want to learn more about the organization. Inside is my card. I'll greatly accept a phone call from any of you. And then there's the Michigan statistics and where we have programs too. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Good morning. I'm pleased to welcome our next guest. Her name is Asiyah Mohammed. She is a hospice chaplain, excuse me. She's also a wife of Mr. Aida Mohammed and a proud mother of 3 adult sons and a grandmother of a bright little girl. She is an assisting minister at Muhammad Mosque No. 1 in Detroit. Her ministry work began in 2009 with the returning citizens. She received her undergraduate education at Michigan State University and Davenport University. She received her Master's of Divinity from Ecumenical Theological Seminary, and Chaplain Mohammed has worked in spiritual care since 2012. She began her road of professional chaplaincy in the emergency department at Sinai Grace Hospital in Detroit, Michigan. She has been working as a hospice chaplain for the last few years while working on her doctoral studies. Minister Mohammed is a lifelong Detroiter. She is an accomplished award-winning poet and writer. She hosts an annual women's event called Queens Uplift Queens. Chaplain Mohammed loves reading, walking, and meditation. In her spare time, she designs and sells handbags through her business online called Goddess Bags Shop. Her passion is empowering women to teach, speak, and flourish in the synagogue, church, at mosques all over the world. And on a personal note, she is also a colleague of mine at the Hillsville Theological Seminary, which is where we met. So welcome, Asiyah.
It's good to see you, even though it's virtual. Thank you for that introduction. It just sounds so, it's so weird to hear someone read those things that you even wrote about yourself. I am a professional chaplain. My background of faith is that I am Muslim. So if you're wondering, you know, wow, what's that on her head? It's funny because I was raised Catholic and I wanted to be join the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So my family's joke is you still got to wear the outfit. Life always on a continuum. So I love this theme of courageously choosing love. So I'm going to open Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, asking God's protection from the accursed Satan who divides us from within and from without, and from anything that would hinder us today from courageously choosing love, even in the midst of the things that we see about each other visually that show us that we're different. In my teaching, in my training, in my faith tradition, we're taught that there are 12 different tribes and that Allah, God created it that way so that we would get to know each other. Because we were all just one group, we would say, oh, we're all the same. But because we embrace and are excited about the things about each other that are different, it gives us a talking point. We get to walk up to each other and say, hey, I noticed you have red hair. That's pretty interesting. Hey, I noticed you have no hair. That's pretty interesting. And courageously choosing love is something that we get to work on every day. For those of us who preach and teach and work in fields of human beings and spirituality, even for those of us who may choose a path of life that we're agnostic or we're non-theist, we still have an energy, a spirit, and a power that deserves to be respected and rejoiced over and embraced. And that's one of the most important things about choosing love and choosing it courageously, is on those points where we have our own personal, small biases. And it's not something we should be ashamed of, a bias. It's something that we should use, as the other speaker said, as moments of reflection. Like, hey, where did that come from? Was I taught that? Did something happen with a person that was different from me that made me judge all the people that were different from me? So I'm encouraging us, when we have those situations where we see it's a little more difficult to choose to love someone, that we look into ourselves and we say, what is my why? What is my boundary? What is the barrier to me loving this person and loving them the way I want other people to love me, and more important, the way I want my creator to love me? So this is a very important opportunity for us to do that. In my role as a chaplain, and I currently still serve as a volunteer chaplain at Sinai Grace, because they only have one professional chaplain there, and that's a lot of work for one person. So I still provide service for them there as a volunteer, because that's part of my way of giving back to my community. So I show my love through volunteerism and service, and having those opportunities to share what God has blessed me with others without seeking always a financial gain. There's nothing wrong with getting paid for what you do, though. Just to give those things back to our community. So my suggestion to you is that you find a need in your community. I love the program that the woman just before me spoke of, the CASA program. It's a great way to volunteer and give back and show that love for our community courageously. Sometimes it's easy to love people that we know, our family of origin or our family of creation, and that's a good thing. But when you show that love to people who are not related to us, when we open our breasts and make room in our assembly to love other people who are different from us, who are not in our particular circle, that's when we really have to be courageous. Sometimes it takes courage to love our family, but it definitely takes courage to love people that we don't know. And that should be exciting because, hey, they're a miracle of creation just like you are. Do you know how many eggs and sperm that were emitted? Millions, and you're the lucky one. You hit the lotto. You've been a winner since your creation. You got chosen to be born and come forth. So you've been winning all along, regardless of how things look. You are that one in a million. You've always won. Because you're here, that means you won. And you get to continue your cycle of victories by helping other people. I'm going to read a short excerpt because I do want to be mindful of the time. I know we're, inching up on a break, I think at about 11. So I don't want to hold the group too far over, but I'm going to read this from one of our great ministers in my faith tradition. And he says, our love for God is nurtured by the repetition of acts of devotion to him. Each time we pray, draw the incredible feeling of happiness and satisfaction that comes from prayer. Our love for him grows. Each time we do in his way increases our love. And as our love for him grows, we recognize him as the true center of our existence and the source of balance for our lives. Once we are right with him, only when we are right with him do we have the hope and the right of the relations with others. We're taught that to get to know God is to get to know self. And to get to know self is to get to know your creator. So as you work in prayer and work in meditation or work in goodness, because we know the greatest of the commandments is to do unto others as we would have done unto us. But how do we know what we want done if we don't love self first? So I'm going to give you permission to be selfish in a good way, because we've been taught selfish is bad. Not always. There is some good selfish. Let me give you an example of a good selfish. So the cabin on the plane loses pressure and the oxygen mask drops down. What are your instructions from your lovely stewardess or flight attendant personnel? First, put the mask over your face, and then you get to help other people. Because if you don't love you, what love do you have to give? So I'm giving you permission to love yourself and love the creation that you are, and to be grateful for the life that you have, no matter how that life might seem right now. Don't be fooled by the appearance of things. What you see right now isn't all that there is. There's a next step. There's another bloom coming. There's another cycle of life coming. So it really is, as the young people say, it's all good. It is all good when you have hope, when you have belief, and when you have faith. Even if it's in yourself, you gotta believe you can be a better person tomorrow. You got to courageously love yourself through your flaws and your difficulties. A lot of times, the hardest person we are on is ourselves. My joke used to be, no one else can hurt my feelings. I've already done it. I can be very hard on me. And I had to make a conscious effort just in the last 2 months, going through this doctoral process. I'm being transparent with you, family. So I hope you can love me through my transparency. I realize I'm so hard on me that I'm my own worst enemy. Well, that's not good. I got to be my own best friend. So how do we teach someone else to friend us? How can we teach someone else to love us if they see us beating up on us? If they see us talking to ourselves, if our self-talk isn't nice, then you're fake nice talking to other people. If your self-talk isn't nice with you. So I'm asking you as your chaplain right now, I'm your chaplain. Right now, I'm serving you and myself. Because as we teach and share, we get the benefit of hearing it, the message repeated back to ourselves like, oh, okay, Lord, you gave me those words for those wonderful people. Well, I'm one of the wonderful people and I'm getting the word at the same exact time. So I'm asking you throughout the rest of the presentations, as you hear from all of the wonderful people that have been set up to speak to us, I'm asking you as you go through the rest of this beautiful program that's been put together for us to learn and grow and shape ourselves, that you keep making notes at the top of each page that say that you love you. And as you go through the days to come, every day at the end of the day, when you reflect, say, what did I do nice for myself today? What did I do nice for my community? What did I do nice for humanity? And if all you have is a community good deed and a humanity good deed and no good deed for yourself, don't go to bed yet. Stay up a little longer. If you just massage your own feet with oil, then do that. If you just rub your own head with some oil, then do that. But take some time out to say, thank you, feet. You got me where I needed to go today. Thank you, bottom. You sat in my wheelchair while I rolled through town. Thank you, brain. You helped me to think the clarity of thoughts that I needed to get through my day. Thank you, ears. You allowed me to hear. Thank you, eyes. You let me read the closed caption message. Thank you, nose. You let me smell that terrible food they were cooking so I could say no thank you when they set the plate down in front of me. Thank you, mouth, for protecting me from having to eat that because you and nose were working together. There's always something about the beautiful composition of you that you can love. So yes, love courageously. Yes, love triumphantly. And yes, love conquers all. It even conquers those voices in our own heads telling us we're not good enough. It even can conquer those voices that come up in us sometimes saying, you know, you can't do that. Because if you say you can't, you can't. And if you say you can, you're always right. You're right both times. So why not change the conversation? Why not say I'm successful? Why not say I'm beautiful? Why not say this nose is a good nose? I may have considered changing it at one point. I might change it in the future, but for right now, it's a good nose. It's in the right place in my face. I'm happy it's where it's supposed to be, even if I want a different one. It's okay to love on you. It's okay to be selfishly courageous about loving the beautiful, wonderful person called you. I want you to take that time every day to reflect on how fabulous you are. I want you to take that time. Don't go to bed without doing something nice for yourself. Because if we have a cup of, in Islam, they'll say, if you have a cup of bean soup, half the cup belongs to your brother. And I always remind myself, but if I don't have a cup, I can't even give the half. Some of us are giving and we're empty. It's okay to fill your cup back up. It's okay to take some time out that's just for you. It's okay to be lovingly selfish and say, no, today I got to take a time out. Today I need some rest. Today I need to rejuvenate. Today I'm going to do something for me. I'm going to go and get the gray covered because I still do that even though I cover my hair. Because when I take this off, I don't want to see it. I don't have to if I don't want to. I get to be pleasing to me, whatever pleases me. And if you got that beautiful white gray and it's gleaming, rock it out. Whatever works for you, whatever makes you happy. I just want you to love on you. And that is my message. My message is one of love and love it courageously, but loving on self. So be positively selfish and love you. Fill up your cup so that you can pour it out on others. I'll close with this because I think it's really, really special. At least it's special to me. and maybe you'll see some specialness in it too. We just had Resurrection Sunday or Easter Sunday, depending on how you talk. Either you had the 40 days of Lent, and then we had Passover right in the same time. And we're working through Ramadan at the same time. And I think it's a high holy time when the three monotheistic Abrahamic traditions are celebrating their high holy days at the same time. And it doesn't always happen that way. So I said, oh my God, aren't you so fabulous that we're having the Love Courageously seminar during this time where all three are meeting together. Why not take some time, if you have a friend that's Jewish, to reach out to them and tell them that you're praying for them and praying with them and happy for them that they just had their holy time. And if you have a friend that's Muslim, to reach out to them, or your local neighbor, it could be someone you do business with, and say, I know this is your holy time. And to reach out to your Christian family and say, wow, I know this is your holy time. Show that love. This is the perfect time for that. And to our non-theist family, hey, I love you. I support humanism. And to our agnostic family, I love you because you're the 1 in a million who made it through. I just love seeing your smile. I love being in your energy. Spread love. Spread random acts of kindness, and know that everything you send out, it comes back to you tenfold. So that's my piece from the Chaplain's Corner. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today, and God's blessings to you all. Good day to you all. Hallelujah. Praise God, and go out there and change the world.
Thank you, Asiyah. Thank you to all of our morning speakers and all of you online for joining us. We've come to the end of our morning session. So I want to remind you to connect back using the same Zoom information if you're online at 1 o'clock for our second session. If you're not able to make that, our third session will start at 4 o'clock. So again, the same information for all those times connecting. For those of you at home, take some time to love yourself and enjoy some lunch. I do want to point out that for those of us in person, a portion of our lunch has been donated by Veg Michigan. They're a statewide group that promotes plant-based eating for health, kindness to the planet and animals. And so they've donated part of our meal here. You might want to check them out if you're at home online, Veg Michigan. But we will connect back with you online at 1 o'clock. We've got a few directions for people here in person. See you soon.